Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline with She Rises Studios, and welcome to today's Light the Porch ceremony. We are honored to celebrate the empowering release of Pain Free on Purpose by Jane Hogan, the wellness engineer. This transformative book, Jane shares her journey of overcoming crippling rheumatoid arthritis and shows how your mind, breath, and daily habits can work together to naturally heal chronic pain. So if you're ready to step out of fear into freedom, this book is your guide to reclaiming your health and vitality and purpose. Hi, Jane. How are you today?
Hi, Jacqueline. I'm great. Wonderful. Excited. Really excited.
Well, congratulations on the release of your book, Pain Free on Purpose. How is it going so far?
I was so excited today because I went onto Amazon to, make sure the link was working okay because today was the day that the book was finally available for instant download. And I saw that it was a number one new release in chronic pain. So I was absolutely thrilled. So excited about that.
Well, congratulations to you. This is a wonderful book, and I'm sure a lot of people will be touched. Not only that, but will be helpful in their journey into healing. So, maybe to start us off, what was the turning point that led you to believe that healing chronic pain was possible without medication at all?
Mm. I actually, it's going to sound a little strange because a it was my worst moment. It was my worst moment when I was at in my the most pain and I didn't know what was causing the pain except that I'd just been through a really stressful, emotionally and physically stressful year. I was at my worst and I was actually ready to give it all up. I was just like, I've got nothing to look forward to in life. Everything that I all these plans that I had for the freedom years, I was not going to be able to do any of it because I was in so much pain. I could barely walk up the stairs. I could barely look after myself. And I had this thought that I'm ready to just check out and be done. And I wasn't quite suicidal, but I was like starting to have those kinds of thoughts. And in the next moment, right after I said that, I heard a voice in my head, but it wasn't my voice. And it said, "This is not how your life is going to turn out. You are going to figure this out and you're going to teach other people." And at that moment, I was still in pain, but I had the deepest knowing that I would figure this out. And so it's
Mhm.
been my calling ever since. It took me a while. I was still in a lot of pain immediately afterwards, but I knew I would figure it out. And now I know that this is my calling. I was born to write this book. I was born to do this work. And so that was my turning point. I was still in pain, but it was a turning point for me.
Well, that's wonderful. At the same time, very interesting because sometimes when we are in pain, although we can, focus on is the pain that we're going through. How do you think the mind and the nervous system play a role in chronic pain, based on your research and in your own experience?
Yeah. I mean, for my own experience, I knew that I had been through this stressful year. And so, and then I was like immediately within 3 months, barely able to walk, couldn't make a fist with
Mhm.
my hands, just in this terrible pain. And so I knew that it had to have something to do with the stress. There's just no way that it didn't. And so I knew that was the case for me. And but I didn't like deal with that right away. I kind of went down the physical path for a little while because that's just kind of natural. It's the way what we do. We think pain is physical. And
Mhm.
so I was dealing with those things. And I made a lot of mistakes, which I talk about in the book, the mistakes that I made. So you don't have to make the same mistakes. Um, but and as I started doing research, because that's what I do, I'm a researcher. And as an engineer, I love doing the research and really having that 30,000 foot view of what's going on here. And I
Mhm.
uncovered a lot of different research and a lot of teachings and clinical trials about the connection between pain and stress. And it's actually our brain and nervous system. And what
Mhm.
we know now is that even though we think physical, we think that pain has a physical reason for it, there must be a physical reason. What we know now is that it's actually being turned on by the brain. And
Mhm.
then the fear about the pain, so I was describing earlier my fear about the pain, that makes the pain even worse because the pain is
Mhm.
really protection. We think it's something bad we need to cover up, but it's really the body saying, oh, I sense you need protection. And so it turns on pain for protection. And our job is to let our brain and nervous system know you don't have to protect so hard. We're fine, and we've got to release the stresses, and it may even go back to childhood trauma and things that we've been hanging on to for a long time, which is what I discovered as well.
That's a very interesting point, and that's true. You know, pain is it's a signal. Like when when you touch something that's hot, automatically you feel the pain because your brain is telling you that's hot, that's harmful for you. But um, it's interesting that we don't have to focus on that pain, um, but we have to uncover what really is causing that particular pain. That
Mhm.
that's a that's a very good point. Can you walk us through, a simple habit or maybe several steps that someone can start doing to start regulating their nervous system,
Mhm.
and start dealing with the pain that they're having?
Yeah, well, I'll just kind of explain. In the book, I have it's divided into three parts. So the first part of the book is where I really try to help people understand why the brain and nervous system is probably responsible for their pain. And
Mm,
because, if people don't believe it, then uh, they're not going to want to follow through on the next steps because most of us think pain is something we got to cover up, cut out,
yeah.
do that kind of thing. So the first thing I do in part one is helping people understand why the brain and nervous system are involved. And then in part two, it is my 6-step plan, which I call my design blueprint. So I'm an engineer, so I love using, the engineer terms, and I was a design engineer. And so it's a 6-step plan. So the word design is an acronym for the 6 steps: desire,
Mm,
explore, surrender, integrate, generate, navigate. And within those 6 steps, each step has two habits that we could call them habits, we could call them rituals, whatever. It's these things, lifestyle changes we can make that are going to regulate the nervous system. What I teach in part one is that the brain learns through repetition. We can't just do something once in a while. Our brain learns by repeating. That's how we learn to ride a bike. That's how we learn to swim faster if we're a swimmer like my kids were. If you want to learn to drive a car, right? We practice. So this is
yeah.
how the brain learns. It has to learn through repetition. So we can't just do something once in a while. So I also talk about, so that I have the habits laid out there, but I also talk about the science behind habits. There's a lot of science behind habits and how to make yourself successful. So
Mhm.
I have the tools to set you up for success. So I think you asked me about the process. So that's the basic
Yeah.
process, and I do have the habits in a certain order. Uh, they don't have to be done in that order, but I think it makes sense the way I've put them in there. So the very first habit is about creating calm. We have to make the time in our day to create calm. If we're constantly on alert, our nervous system can't shift to the
Mm,
rest, digest, repair, rejuvenate state. That's the only state in which our body can heal and in which the brain can get the message that we are safe and it doesn't need to protect so hard. So that could be the creating calm, could be a meditation practice, but I actually start with something super simple because if I said meditate, a lot of people might go, no. So I start with just breath work, just breathing,
Mm.
just calm breathing for 3 minutes, 3 times a day. And that can start shifting. And as you teach your body what it's like to feel calm, you notice more when you're shifting out of it and you're more likely to come back to it. So we're teaching our body a new way to breathe, slow down, feel calm.
And it's nice that you mentioned that you create calm, so it's intentional. You
Yeah.
don't just wait to be in a calm situation, but
Yeah.
you have to be intentional in making that particular situation, making that calm space for yourself. That's wonderful.
It's all intentional, and actually that's part of the name of the book, right? Pain Free on Purpose. It's that
Yeah.
intentionality. It's also about my pain to purpose story, but I also feel that for everyone, pain has come along in our life for a reason.
Mm,
It's revealing to us some part of our, I believe, our soul that's not expressing completely. We are truly at our core loving beings, completely loving and lovable. And somewhere along the way, that message didn't get through. And that's why we don't feel safe. And so pain is really a gift to open you up to
mhm.
what's been buried and what we've been ignoring so that you can actually have more freedom. I say get your life back, but I think it's even like get a better life.
Yep. That's true. That's true. So there are a lot of myths about chronic pain or in pain in general. What is one myth about chronic pain that you're hoping to bust with your book?
Oh, that's what I'm doing all the time is myth busting about chronic pain. I mean, the biggest umbrella myth is that there's a physical reason for chronic pain.
Mm,
And so people think this is true. We've been brought up to think that's true. And what we know now is that things like arthritis and bulged discs and different, meniscus tears and other tears that show up in an MRI or an X-ray, we're told that that's the reason for the physical pain. Yet, what they know now is they can take people who have no pain, and I forget, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me now, but for example, let's take knee arthritis. That perhaps
mhm,
something like 65% of people will show irregularities or arthritis in their knee and have no pain. So this is 65% of people with no pain. It will show up on an MRI. So in other
mhm.
words, things like arthritis, things like bulge discs, things like different abnormalities and tears are normal. If they were always a reason for physical pain, then every single person who had them would have physical pain. So it's not that. Yet if we're
Mm,
told that that's the reason, then our brain goes, "Oh, okay, that's the reason for physical pain. We'll just kind of keep that on." But I talk a lot in the book about, especially in part one, about things like the power of our mind to create pain. So things like the placebo effect, things like delayed pain, phantom limb pain
mm,
that people who have a limb removed have real pain. And I kind of want to make sure
yeah.
that I'm getting that across is that this doesn't mean that your pain isn't real. If you feel pain, it's real pain. It's just that our brain can dial it up or dial it down in
Mm.
response to what it thinks is going on, if it thinks we feel safe or not.
That's very interesting. You know, you recognize the pain, but you don't amplify it.
Yeah.
Rather, you try and dial it down. So, how can someone begin shifting from fear and frustration to empowerment and healing?
Mm. I do a really great little exercise often on my webinars, and I'm always amazed. So I get people to rate their pain out of 10 before we
Mhm.
begin. So 0 being no pain at all, and 10 being the worst pain we can imagine. And then I guide them through a little guided sequence. So basically I guide them first of all to feel relaxed, close their eyes, notice how they're supported. We're always supported, right, by whatever we're sitting on or lying on.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
also we're supported by the air. We always have another breath. So it's like creating these feelings of safety. And then I get them to think about doing something that they would love to do that they're missing out on now because of pain. And I really take them through, get them to imagine bring in all their senses. What do they see? What colors do they see? What's around them? What do they hear? Do they feel anything on their skin? So I really get them in full sensory, and then I get them to put a word to on the feeling that they're experiencing as they are
Mhm.
in doing this thing. And then so whatever word it is, and I get them to bring that word, feel it in their heart or in their body, wherever they feel it. And then we use the breath to really expand it and imagine like blowing it up like a balloon. And so this visualization practice, people feel really good in it. And then afterwards, I get them to rate the pain again out of 10. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Some people like, I mean, one guy, last one, he went from a 10 to a 5.
Oh, wow.
10 to a 5. I've had people in my classes saying that, like, one lady, I remember she had sciatic pain for 10 years
Mhm.
and she said it was gone in this. Now,
That's
not everyone has
wonderful.
super dramatic, but most people do have a reduction. And so what I want people to understand in that is the power that you have with using your mind, using your thoughts to create that calm, create these positive emotions so that your nervous system gets the sense I'm safe, things are good.
Mm.
And then instantly people can feel a drop in pain. And so this gives them a little taste. Okay, if that's just what I did in this short amount of time, what about if I did this every day, 3 times a day? It's kind of my the second step second habit in my program. Doing this little visualization practice, feeling really good in it. And then you keep teaching your body, what does it feel like to come back to this? So instead of it's easy, right? It's easy when you're in pain to feel the pain and feel scared about it and feel sad about missing out on your life and feeling fear for your future. And it's totally understandable. However, if we want a different outcome, we can't stay there because those thoughts keep our brain and nervous system in protection. So I feel for people. I'm not telling anyone to feel differently, but if you want to change, then there are tools you can use to help shift your nervous
Mm.
system back to calm and begin to release pain.
That's wonderful. And if there's one thing that that you would want your readers to remember after reading your book, what do you think that will be?
I finished the book up talking about that actually, and I want them to see and know, feel and know that they are the empowered ones. The only
Mm.
person that can relax your nervous system, the only thinker in your mind is you. And so I want them to feel empowered. I want them to feel like they are the heroes. They are the hero in their journey. I'm just a guide. They are the hero. And that's the biggest message, an empowering message for them.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Jane. Thank you for sharing your journey and empowering others to step into the life of freedom and vitality and letting us know that there is, something more than just the pain that we may be feeling right now. Do you have any last words for those that are listening for us today?
Well, I've created so many wonderful bonuses to go with this book. So if you're watching this now, while the ebook is available, oh, thank you. Thanks, Veronica. Um, if you're watching this right now, if you go to my website to you can, I have instructions there on how you can get the book and then also get the bonuses. So you won't get the bonuses just buying the book on Amazon. You have to come back to my website. So is it okay if I share the link, Jacqueline?
Yes, yes, that will be wonderful.
Okay, I'm gonna put the link. It's the wellnessengineer.com slash ebook. The wellnessengineer.com slash ebook. And if I can figure out how to share the link, I will do that. And I can also
Okay.
do it
So,
afterwards.
yes, that will be wonderful. And if people wanted to reach out to you, where and how can they reach out to you?
They can reach me at my website is probably the easiest thing. To send an email at support at thewellnessengineer.com, and I see those emails so I can answer you. You can also reach out to me, send me a direct message on my YouTube channel at The Wellness Engineer, Instagram at The Wellness Engineer, my Facebook page at Jane Hogan Health. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much again, Jane. Thank you for sharing this with us. To everybody that's listening out there, Pain Free on Purpose is now available in ebook format at Amazon. So if you're ready to take control of your health, heal naturally, and reclaim your life, grab your copy right now and begin your journey to living a pain free life on purpose. Thank you so much again, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Thanks, everyone, for being here.